What's up everybody, Sean Doering here. Now in today's video I was intending on going down to one of my local cities of St. Paul, Minnesota to do the next video I wanted to shoot, which is for a street photography point of view video. Now unfortunately I don't feel that great today, and it's also we apparently have a polar vortex from the north that moved in over the area, so it's like negative 10 degrees outside. So instead of that, I'm gonna have to push that to a different date where I have time to do it and get it done, unfortunately. However, I did want to make a new video for you guys, and I thought it would be kind of rad to do the beginning of a new series, which I was intending on doing later on anyways, but since we're now in January 2025, I wanted to kind of go back to do a favorite shots summary of the previous month that I did, kind of just go over the fun scenarios, situations, and just my favorite shots that I took and kind of highlight them essentially. So we're going to do that just from the month of December 2024. So let's go ahead and get started with that. Alright, here we go. So in this first photo, this is actually from the very first first shot that I ever even took of the first kind of time that I went out, essentially just to kind of get used to the camera and just shooting it in general. So it was also freezing at the time, and it was just kind of one of those situations where I just wanted to kind of get some non-normal shots of, just like a direct kind of straight on kind of shot. So I went down to the ground on it and shot it, and then of course the darkness on there because it was towards the end of the day. So I went down below to the street and shot up from it, and essentially just took it as it is, and then I kind of went into the editing process, of course. And as for my kind of vibe, I kind of blew up the exposure on it a little bit as far as putting up some more blues in there. And then I personally love to highlight or increase the vignette on the sides to kind of really, for my opinion, it kind of gives you a better focus on the subject in some photos. It's not all of them, it doesn't work on every photo, but a lot of them it does increase the focus on the main subject, which I think is pretty rad too. And then I did increase just the sharpness of it to kind of let you see a little bit more of the branches on the tree. And it also, in doing so, it also kind of opened up just the overall look of the tree too. It made it look a lot more, I wouldn't say Christmassy, but it kind of did in that way, which I think is pretty rad. So that was the first one I thought was really cool from December on that one. Now if we go to the next one here, this was my very first night shoot. So a few weeks ago I went out into because now in the Midwest it gets dark at like 3:30, 4 o'clock right now, and it gets pitch black pretty much. And down near my local city here, there's a really cool river that has a ton of boats on there. And this boat in particular had a bunch of cool lights on the top, and I've actually posted another photo of just the lights, just more of a straight on shot on there too. But I thought this was pretty rad because I thought it was the reflection, again, it's my first reflection shot on its own. The reflection on its own is really is rad in my opinion too. So when I did the editing on this one, I wanted to essentially pretty much go into, I like to not overexpose, but I like to expose the lights like they are and kind of make them feel a little bit more vivid. I mean, it's a night shot, so the colors are more vivid anyways, but I wanted to really kind of expose it a little bit more than normal on that area, and kind of just make it seem, on that. But then I would pull down on the sharpness on it, or my bad, reverse that. Pull up the sharpness on it so you can actually have a little bit more of an exposed light, but with a sharpness to it as well. And I think that it looks pretty cool on that one as well. Now, one thing I also wanted to do on this one too was I wanted to make, because the natural shot unedited, and then just a heads up, all these shots, every shot that I do is a preset of mine, which will be coming out in a few days or a few weeks once I get them all done. But essentially on this one I wanted to really, there's a lot of purple in there, a lot of beautiful blue and purple. I wanted to make those really look as smooth as possible, because again, it's half ice for the water, halfway frozen, half not, and then you have the lights on the ship, on the boat, that are also in there too. So it's a little bit more tricky for editing it for me, just because I wanted to really showcase the blues and the purples for the color and tint it, but also not overdo it, not go crazy on it, but also have it be sharp like that too. So it was one of the more, I would say, difficult so far shots that I've ever had to edit, just because I wanted to make it look sharp, also smooth, but not take away from the original photo too. Because my thing with editing is I try to keep as much of the original photo that I took in the actual final edit, but also still add some character to it and add some vibe to it, as we all do as photographers. So I love the way it turned out. I think it's really cool, and it does have, again, it has the sharpness on the lights from the boat and the reflection, but it also has, again, the blue and the purple from just the natural light reflection on there as well, which is also from the light spot in the water, which I think is also really, really cool. So it turned out way better than I thought it would, and I'm pretty stoked about that one too. Now, in the same area on the same night, again, my first night shoot, right there was a bunch of trees in the area. And if you look at my Instagram, if you don't follow me on Instagram, please go ahead and do that. That's where I post a lot of these finalized edits too. But there was a lot of trees in the area that had a bunch of lights in them, because again, it was the holidays, so it had that kind of vibe to it. Now this one was pretty cool because, again, the foreground is the tree. It's a real tree. It has the lights on it in two different colors of green and blue, and then behind it is the actual frozen lake with snow on top. And I thought it was kind of funny because it was really the initial shot itself was a really super quick one. It was just one where I wanted to really get the, just the background to be blurred out. Like, I think it's called bokeh. I think it is. Let me know in the comments, but I'm pretty sure it's bokeh, to make it look as blurry but still a little bit focused in the background. So that was it was a quick shot. Again, I didn't put too much effort into it for focusing, but I wanted to really make sure that I was able to get the foreground of the tree and the lights as crystal sharp as I could. However, the fun thing, again, for me, like I said about the last photo, is that I like to kind of have the exposure on lights a little bit up, just so it looks more, because I love the nighttime colors of things. I like to expose them a little bit more than normal, so you don't really necessarily see the bulb in this case, which you can, but I like the idea of having it be where it's just more of the color than the actual bulb, and then when the actual color is, shadowing over the branches like it does in this photo, which is why it's one of my favorites for December. I like that look to it. And it's one of the cooler things, in my opinion, so far from where I'm at with experience for doing a night shoot. So again, it was a really quick shot and not do a ton of focus on it as far as, focusing the actual shot itself. It was more fun on the edit side for this one, as it was, but it still turned out to be really cool. And again, I love the background on there as far as the bokeh on it. I think that's what bokeh is the background blur on it and how effective it is or how used it is. So if I'm wrong, let me know in the comments for that. But again, that was a really cool shot, just because, again, I didn't do too much editing on it. I just wanted to, again, I wanted to up the exposure on the lights again to make them look a little bit more powerful than they were in the initial shot. But again, keeping as much as the natural shot as possible there. So again, that was one of my favorites for that shoot, for that first night shot. Now, the next one here is going to be, this is just from the trip. So I just got back from a trip with my extended family here. We drove 40 minutes away. And again, I'm in the Midwest. I'm in Minneapolis. So anytime you go 40 minutes away, you end up pretty much not in the middle of nowhere, but it's kind of out there. And it was an interesting trip because every single day we had these dense fog advisory warnings for the entire 5-6 days. And initially I wanted to go out to a trail, which we ended up doing, but I wanted to go out to trails and walk around and just to get some scenery shots, because that's where I'm into right now before I get all into the deep street photography shots. But I thought it was one day where we were and let me preface this too. This photo itself was actually completely shot on my iPhone. I didn't actually have my Canon camera with me at that point, and I'll go through that in a minute on how to always bring your camera with you. But so I think it's incredibly cool. So again, I've got the iPhone 14 Pro Max, so it's a couple years old, but it still can shoot in RAW if you turn on the setting in your photo settings. So if you are, again, like a photographer like I am, then you can shoot RAW on those. You just have to turn on the actual settings, because iPhone settings by default, because it uses so much memory on the phone's memory, it does not do RAW once you turn it on in the photo itself when you're taking it or in the settings. But again, so we had a dense fog advisory warning for the entire trip every single day, which I thought was really rad at first, but I wanted to kind of get more. I wish there was more sun in some photos, but there wasn't. But this photo itself was actually it happened right as we got back to our cabin that we were staying at, and basically we got out of the car, and it was just a it was like 3:30 p.m. so it was right before the sun was officially set. And the weird thing about winter up here, or these kind of fog cloud shots, is that it's like this very, very early in the morning, and then also right before the sunset, where almost like a little bit of extra light comes into play. So essentially, I just got out of the car to get our groceries, and it was just right there, just this gorgeous. Like, this is just our driveway that we were at. Like, this just a gorgeous tree view of just the driveway. I just wanted to point up with it because there's other houses below, but I just wanted to point up with it and just take it. And again, I did apply a preset to this one just to make it a little bit more moodier in that sense. But really, overall, again, tons and tons of fog was already there, and it was just a gorgeous shot. It reminded me of my trip to Seattle for the summertime. There wasn't fog at that time, but just the overall vibe of it and the moodiness of it, which was really, really cool. And again, I didn't do too much editing on it. I just applied a preset of mine, just to kind of give the fog a little bit more of a character on the actual photo itself. And I kind of just upped the exposure a teeny bit, just to kind of give it more of that moodier kind of vibe, which is, what I love to do on any photo. So again, one of my favorite photos from December, and it was a really quick, just get out of the car, iPhone shot, bam, done, and just, it looks really, really cool in my opinion. So that was that one. And then the final one here for December is this one. Now, in that same area that we were staying at in the cabin, we drove there was a park trail about 15 minutes away from the cabin that we were staying at. And I wanted to go there the entire trip because it had a really cool waterfall, which I have not edited. I took some shots of the waterfall. It was frozen, of course. It was halfway frozen. There was some water still falling, but a lot of it was frozen, which you can see in the background of the photo here. But there was this really cool thing I noticed right when we got there. Because we hiked down about 5 minutes down these stairs, and there's a really cool log right here that was, as you can see, right above the water by a foot or two, and the water was streaming through there. So it was one of those shots that took me honestly probably about 15 attempts to get the way I wanted it to, because I was trying to get the background in it as much as I could, but also get the tree and the log in there, and also the water below it that was flowing. And it was a challenge for me just because I was trying to get as much motion blur in the actual shot of the water moving below, but also have the log be as focused as it is, but also have the background be, again, blurred out. So that was a challenge, and again, I'm still shooting in automatic mode and not manual mode yet, so that's probably my own fault for just not even trying to get it manual mode. But it was also more difficult because the area where I was all ice. It was completely frozen over, all ice, except for the river. And the river itself, there was about, you can't see it in this photo, but it was a good 1.5 feet deep. And I tried to get as close to it as I could, as far as just to get the focus on there like that. But it was still more of a challenging photo to take just because of the actual, the scene, the area that we were in. And it was freezing out that day too. But again, I love how it turned out overall. Again, another preset I applied on there just to give it a little bit more of a boost on there too. But again, it was one of my favorite photos just because it took a lot of effort and a lot of shots to get it done. Most of my shots so far are taken pretty much within the first 3 tries on there. So it took a good 15 shots around there just to get the right way I wanted it to. And it turned out great. I still love it. But it was just again, more of a challenge to get the water. With some motion blur, it's not as much as I wanted to get for motion blur on the water, but it was still enough there. And then the focus on the log is pretty cool, and I love the background being, bokeh, I think is what you call it again. So that's pretty cool too. So that's pretty much it for. So that's my favorite 5 photos from December on there. I've already got a bunch for January, even though it's only been 1 day because I've taken some photos since then too. But those are my favorite 5 from December. Then let me know what you think of them in the comments. If you hope you think that they're pretty good too, and any just any suggestions you have, or anything that you would have done differently, or just any stories that you have too of your favorite photos from December or in the past. I would love to hear those as well. And again, I do have presets coming up soon for all these photos. Again, these are all fully edited with my first ever preset package, which are, again, it's gonna be a winter package just because I wanna, again, we're in December, January. So, and again, if you don't already follow me on Instagram there, it's where I post everything as well. And if you like this video, definitely give it a thumbs up and subscribe if you're new, because I'm gonna keep on posting as much as I can. Thanks for watching as always, and I'll see you guys on the next video.